Hello and welcome to the Spotlight on Wawarsing. Today is Thursday, December 7th, and I'm your host, Ramel Johnson. Today's show features Alexandria and Mackenzie, two health educators Planned Parenthood at Mid-Hudson Valley. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Hey.
No problem. What do you do at Planned Parenthood?
Well, I'm a health educator with Mackenzie. I work in Ulster County. She works in Dutchess County, and we facilitate programs for youth.
Okay.
So anyone from the ages of 13 to 21, predominantly, and we talk about reproductive and sexual health.
Okay.
We also supervise youth health promoters. Those are peers that are the same age as you that go out and talk to their friends about sexual and reproductive health.
Okay.
Cool, right?
Yeah, that is cool. Do they get paid like you guys? Or?
They get paid minimum wage.
Oh, okay. So it's a job?
It is a job.
Oh, that's cool.
And they start at the age when they get working papers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What does CAP stand for?
CAP is CAPP, and it's Comprehensive Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program. So basically, it's a grant that pays Planned Parenthood, which comes from New York State Department of Health,
Okay.
that allows Planned Parenthood to conduct educational services or programming for teens in Dutchess, Ulster County, Ulster, Sullivan, and also Orange.
Okay.
And in Sullivan, we work through a grant that is subcontracted through Sullivan BOCES.
All right. That's
Yeah.
cool. How does your presence as a health educator affect your local youth community?
Well,
Is it positive?
is a positive impact. Basically, it makes myself serve to you guys. Basically, any questions that you guys have when it comes to sexual reproductive health, we will answer it because we're knowledgeable in that area. We also are. We are we're like your leaders or your advocates or more like teachers. So we felt that basically us giving that information, people are usually scared when it comes to talking about their sexual and reproductive health. So we become more of those advocates. Sometimes parents don't have that ability or the knowledge, so we serve as that too for you guys.
Sometimes thinking about like these services, people think they might have to go to a health center to access like questions about Planned Parenthood. And really what health educators do is give a face to the community of who you can go to, especially for youth. Like, here's this one person who's actually in your communities, and you probably see them a lot in your schools. And here's a person who's accessible that you can go ask questions to, so you don't have to like worry about the fear of going to a health center, actually making it there to ask those questions.
Because I know that some schools don't hand out condoms and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
And
if
they
people
don't
want to
really
access.
explain.
Yeah, and if people want to access those things, they can ask a health educator and find out where do they have to go to access these services, or not have to call a phone number to ask a question. They could simply just ask us.
So I want to talk a little bit about this prevention card. This prevention card, which a lot of teens don't know about, we hand them out when we come into the community. So when you guys see me at the Ellenville library, or you see me do a program, I'm trying to do it in Ellenville school, but when I do programs with Family of Woodstock and things of that nature, you guys get these little cards from us. So you're not just getting just the condoms from us, but you're also getting information. So you know about the services that we provide. We provide birth control. We provide exams that includes with a pap smear, things of that nature, breast exams, menopause care, HPV shots for anyone 19 to 26, screening for high blood pressure and diabetes and high cholesterol and colon cancer, medication to quit smoking, so smoking cessation, health advice for being before you get pregnant, and screening for STIs and HIV, and screening for Hep C, and depression screenings, and also transgender health services.
Okay.
So there's a lot of services that we do. So we don't just give out condoms, and we don't, but we do a whole bunch of other stuff.
Right. Are these all tests that you guys provide? Like the HPV?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
do like regular STI screenings that can come in a lot of different ways. We do tests for HIV. So if someone was interested or worried, like, do I have an STI, or just wanted to get themselves tested for their own peace of mind, we do all of those at Planned Parenthood as well.
Okay. What kind of birth control does PPMHV offer?
So we offer all different methods of birth control. A lot of the ones we offer are called LARC methods, long-acting reversible contraceptives. So those would include things like IUDs, Depo-Provera shot, I'm losing my train of thought. So IUDs, the shot, long-acting methods.
Okay, so you got IUDs, Depo, patch, NuvaRing, the pill,
And the implant.
and the implant.
Yeah.
So it's 6 of them. 6 of them.
Is that
That's a
also
part.
like Plan B?
So that's an emergency contraceptive. That's something that someone would use if all other methods have failed. Like if they
Okay.
used a condom, it broke, they forgot to
Yes.
use one, they forgot to take a birth control pill. That's an emergency contraceptive that somebody can use.
So all those methods that we just named, which is 6 methods, those are 99% effective if used right. 99% effective means that you will not get pregnant at all. But the thing that it does not protect you against is STIs or HIV. So you must use.
Condom.
Yay!
Why is it called Planned Parenthood?
So it wasn't actually always called Planned Parenthood. The first birth control clinic was actually opened in 1916 by a woman named Margaret Sanger. Then she eventually founded what was called the American Birth Control League in 1921. And so at the time, the topic of birth control was really not a good topic to talk about. It was really controversial. And so having that name, can be really controversial, having birth control connected to it. And it was much more than just birth control services. So the name was eventually changed to Planned Parenthood. That happened in 1942. And the reason the name was changed to include the word plan and Planned Parenthood was because there was much more of a need to provide people with services that help them plan their pregnancies, help them make informed decisions about their reproductive health care, and help them decide when is the best time for me to have a child, is this a good time, and what do I want my pregnancy to look like. So it was really about advocating for the needs of people who would be receiving Planned Parenthood services.
And guess where Planned Parenthood was first made at, or first located at?
New York?
Yes, New
Yeah,
York
and
and Brooklyn, Brownsville, if anybody.
Is there a reason why?
Not even sure why it started in
Okay.
New York and Brownsville, but
Okay.
maybe the need was very high there,
Yeah.
and maybe she was from there, so it was
Okay.
her and 2 other people, her sister and one other person that found that organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Also, do you have a video for us?
Yeah, I do have a video. So this segment, I wanted to give you guys a segment on consent. I wanted to show you guys what is consent and what is not consent. So it's a really cute video. You can like it if you want to.
If you're still struggling with consent, just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they go, "Oh my God, I would love a cup of tea, thank you." Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, "Hey, would you like a cup of tea?" And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea. At all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, "Yes, please. That's kind of you." And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, "Do you want tea?" Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it going, but you wanted tea last week. Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, but you wanted tea last night. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea.
Okay, so what does consent mean to you? Why is it important?
So consent is very important because before you get into the, well, I hope everyone understands the whole point of tea. The whole point of tea is the engage of a sexual act. So we want you guys to get consent before you get into a consent, into the act of actually engaging in sex. So why is it important? You need to get the yes from the person. A lot of people get jammed up and get in trouble because they probably thought they got a yes or didn't know the realms of a yes, and then basically get into legal trouble for it.
I think one important thing that this video highlights is the idea of informed consent as well. We grow up hearing the phrase no means no all the time, so we're told if somebody says no, they mean no, but we're not actually taught the value of somebody saying yes either. So this video talks about how somebody has to be informed about what they're saying yes to. They have to understand when that yes is taken away.
Things to say yes to, basically.
Absolutely. So in this video, if somebody were to say yes today to a sexual act and be okay with it with their partner, it doesn't mean that tomorrow they're going to be okay with the same thing,
Definitely.
right? So we feel that as health educators, especially talking about reproductive and sexual health, it's also important to talk about consent and what it means to have consent in sexual relationships. So we talk about safer sex. It's not only about using birth control or contraceptives, it's also about knowing what consent is and when you do and don't have consent.
So I'm going to show you real quick on how to navigate through the site to find this consent. I'm going to show you guys another consent video, but not the video itself, but I'm going to show you how to get to that video. I have a whole bunch of these cute little cards that you pass out, and it says what does it mean, what does consent really mean? So I'm going to show you how to get to that site. It actually has a link on the back of that card, but if you go to ppmhv.org, and just put it in your little search engine, and then you go to here, search, and you put in consent. And you will see a search result come up about consent, and you just go all about consent right here. And voila! The man that's on that photo on the little card is right there, and there's an interactive link that you just click and you'll see a video of it, but we won't show it today. But I will give you a little description of what consent is. Consent is when a person freely agrees to something. When it comes to sex, consent is mandatory every time.
Can consent be like worded differently from a different like person? Like, can consent not mean the same thing it might mean to me, like to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we're gonna give you what consent is, and then we're gonna talk about what consent is not.
Okay.
So right here it says, it gives you a different definition what consent is. It's freely given, so it's not okay to pressure someone. It's usually reversible. You can reverse at any time. So say if I just told you yes, and then 2 seconds later you are ready now, and 2 seconds later I'm like,
No.
okay, not today, I'm not in the mood. It can be reversed.
Okay.
Usually both partners are informed about the consequences when it comes to sex, or when it comes to understanding what is going to happen.
Yeah.
So they know the facts. And then usually they're enthusiastic. So usually I'm happy, you're happy, we all happy, and that's a yes. All right. So you got to hear the word yes, and it's specific.
Okay.
Got to hear just
Yes.
the why yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
I think that's a great question though, because we have a lot of youth who will think that like a shrug of the shoulders or maybe is
Yeah.
consent, right? Or that body language
Yes.
means consent, right?
Like Yeah, I understand what she's saying.
And I think when we're talking about consent, it's really important to know that it's better to know whether or not you have consent than to be in a situation you don't want to be in, right? And the idea that you could have a partner where you know when you have consent from that person, but that always starts with a conversation, right? We don't ever assume that we have consent. We make sure we have it. Yeah.
So, for instance, for example, you and a person is about to engage in some type of sexual activity, and the person goes, "Oh, I don't know, but maybe yes. I'm feeling, I don't know." Is that consent?
Basically, no, right?
Yeah.
That's basically a no. The person is not enthusiastic at all about it, and there's no specific yes, and there's no definite. You don't hear that enthusiastic in that person's voice to engage in that activity that you guys are about to engage. So that's with anything. If we playing basketball together, if you're pressuring me, this is not going to happen. You should leave that person alone. So,
and it's also important to know that there's times when someone may say yes to something even though they don't really want to say yes, right? So if someone's being pressured or coerced or feel fearful,
wouldn't you be able to tell through the person's facial features?
Yeah, I would hope so, right? But not always, right? So what you also have to take into consideration when talking about consent is where's the power in that relationship, right? Is there equal power between two people or is it unequal?
Yeah.
And if it's unequal, sometimes that can take away someone's ability to consent, like the video talks about. If somebody is unconscious, right? Even if they said yes before that and then that happens, that's no longer a yes, right? That's taken away, right?
They're asleep. Why are you going to,
but think about like drugs and alcohol too, right? In New York State, there's laws that say that if someone's under the influence, they can't consent. So even in those situations, if that person says yes, but they're under the influence,
you
they
still
don't have consent because something is in the way of them actually saying yes in an informed way, right?
So that's exactly what the site talks about. It tells you there are laws about consent. So if you see here, it says being drunk or high, that's not a consent. Asleep or passed out, that's not a consent. You should make sure that person is safe because that person is not coherent. If they're below the legal age of consent. So anyone in New York State, anyone under the age of 17, they're not allowed to give consent.
Under the age of 17?
Yes. Yes, sir.
You guys hear that?
Age of 17. So if you're 21 and you're dating a 17-year-old and they give you consent, yes, and they're enthusiastic, that's still a no. Cool? And then it says disable in a way that affects their ability to understand. So if a person is taking medication or not mentally capacitated or they don't have the mental capability to give a formal yes, then you shouldn't take advantage of that person. Okay?
What if they're both under the age of legal consent? So
there's a lot of questions around that. We get a lot of those types of questions when we go into classrooms, and those are tricky situations to really answer, right? So in the event that two people who are under the age of 17 are engaging in sexual acts with each other, it doesn't mean that they're not saying yes to each other in an informed manner, but what they have to understand is the responsibilities and consequences that come with having a sexual relationship, right? So if one of those people were to decide one time that it wasn't consensual and they weren't okay with what had happened, that other person could get in a lot of trouble.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
Because you know how you say consent goes both ways, man and boy and girl. But like I feel like girls always have that, I said no, but the guy said she said yes. So like, basically, I forgot.
So is this about like the idea of people falsely reporting like sexual assault? The idea that like somebody would say, "Well, I didn't say yes to that." Do you want to take a guess at the
I feel like
percentage?
they believe like the girls more just cause like.
Yeah, and that comes up a lot even in our workshops, right? So I think this is actually a great topic to talk about. I'm going to ask you questions. So how often, in a percentage-wise, out of 100% of reports of sexual assault, how often do you think people are falsely reporting? So out of 100%, how many of those are false reports?
Not much. I don't think so.
So it's a super low number. A lot of people, when I say that in a classroom, will shout out like 50%, 20%. It's actually only between 2 and 8% of reports of sexual assault that end up ever being false. So it's a very small percentage, right? So sometimes those types of questions
And are they mostly from women that.
I don't know that.
Okay.
Yeah, that statistic I'm not sure of. But the idea that when people report, like, I didn't say yes to that, a lot of the times it's because they don't know what consent means, right?
But I also feel like if a man like said the same thing, like it's kind of like you guys look at it. You guys look at it different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like.
I think that's a society thing,
Okay.
right? So the idea that, I think you're completely correct that a lot of people aren't believed when they report like sexual assault and things like that. And a lot of the times it
Like-
goes against like the gender roles prescribed
Like
to
if
men,
I was
right?
like sexual assaulted by a woman, like I felt like you guys would probably look at me like you're lying. Like,
That's a stigma in our
Yeah.
society,
Yes.
right? The idea that men can't be assaulted, that they can't experience these types of situations. And it's just like you said earlier, men need to give consent just like women do. People of any gender need to have consent and know what it means to have consent.
And this is the reason why we do educational classes, so that people can understand that we can remove those stigmas. That are we not just educate youth, we educate professionals, we educate
Adults.
everyone.
Okay.
So the site also shows workshops for parents, shows workshops for professionals, and shows workshops for teens. So everyone's getting these types of trainings. It might be designed differently, but everyone's getting the same topics.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to show you. It says, what does consent look like? Consent is clear, happy, excited, yes. Anything else is not a consent. So that's real quick, and it just goes into different examples and lets you know what to do when it comes to consent. So, you good? Do you understand what consent stands, what it means?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Then you can.
You want to
So I'm going to talk about the wallet card real quick with you guys. I'm just going to let you guys know what this means. The wallet card is basically, it tells you where we're located. So we're located in Goshen on 7 Coast Drive. We're also located in Monticello, New York on 14 Prince Street. And we're also located in Kingston, right where I work at, 21 Grand Street. We're also located in Newburgh, 136 Lake Street. And then we're also located in Poughkeepsie, 17 Knoxon Street.
In Poughkeepsie, we also have another location. It's not a health center, but we're at the Family Partnership Center where our educators are located as well. So that's another place to access Planned Parenthood educators.
Also on this little chat, wallet card, we have the chat text blue box right here. This box, you can text this number, which is 774-636. And you can ask Planned Parenthood any question that you want, and it's confidential and it's free. So a lot of people will ask, like, I'm growing hair in weird places, and they'll get an answer from a health educator like me, someone so far away that would never know who you are, and they could be able to answer at any time of the day, 3 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the evening, and you can get your your questions answered. Or if not, they can refer you to the closest Planned Parenthood near you.
Okay. That's what's up. That's all?
And also, I guess I talk about this nice little condom packet that I have. Inside our little condom packet that you can receive at Planned Parenthood, it has our wallet card, and it also has our Fitbit card, family benefits program. Basically, it tells you all the requirements. So if you can't be able to pay for services at Planned Parenthood, it tells you ways to be able to obtain free or low cost services. And it comes in Spanish and English. And it also gives you 3 condoms in our little packet and directions on how to use a condom. So basically, that's what the condom packet is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hopefully you got some information and you informed.
Yes, definitely. Now I know what consent means. Nah, I know what consent means, but I knew there was more to it that I didn't know.
Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay.
I got my questions in.
I am Alexandra Jolson, and I am a health educator at Kingston, right there in 21 Grand Street. I am doing programs in Ellenville. I'm also helping out the Ellenville Youth Commission, and basically they are conducting different trips for you guys to come visit the health center, so you guys can get tested and be able to be educated in these areas when it comes to HIV and AIDS, and also STIs, consent, healthy relationships, negotiation skills.
When is your next trip?
So we're trying to plan the next one. It's Thursday, January 25th. It's going to be during Regents Week. So hopefully you guys can be able to come out. The bus will pick you guys up at Ellenville at 8:30 in the morning and take you all the way up to the health center in Kingston, so you guys can be able to get that information. It's $25 gift card at you if you come, and you get a chance to get, not a chance, but you will get pizza, some food, and breakfast, and be able to get a workshop on HIV and AIDS.
Cool.
And pregnancy prevention.
Okay. Planned Parenthood is located in Mid-Hudson, 21 Grand Street, Kingston, New York, 12401. And for more information, you can find them online at www.plannedparenthood.org. You can email Alexandra Jolson at PPMHV.org, or you can call 845-264-0778. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Spotlight on Wawarsing. See you next time.